Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're going to be talking about Dying Light 2. So this is going to be my long overdue review of the game because I actually wanted to finish everything the game has to offer before I go and make a review of it. And that's something that I was doing, and now that I finished the game properly, I can actually talk about everything that I like and dislike about it. So let's begin. So first things first, if you go back to Dying Light 1, keep in mind I was a huge fan of the game. Dying Light 1 is a game that I played religiously because the first time it came out, it was like zombies, but this time you can do parkour, and for me that was big because before that you had Left 4 Dead and Dead Island, which were fighting games, obviously against zombies. Some were using more melee like Dead Island, some were using weapons like Left 4 Dead, but at the same time that parkour element was missing from it. But now when they added that, it gave you a whole different perspective of how you do survival in those cities, because it's not just walking through the streets and everything trying to hit zombies. This time you're going to be on roofs, you're going to be jumping around, you're going to be utilizing your abilities to fight those enemies, and that's one of the most important parts of Dying Light. So obviously when Dying Light 2 was announced and it was coming out, I was excited but also a little bit afraid of if they're gonna be able to make Dying Light 2 as fun, as engaging and good as Dying Light 1, because keep in mind, Dying Light put Techland on the map. Dying Light 1 sold in millions and millions and millions of copies, so of course people had relatively high expectations for Dying Light 2. Now generally I was going into this game with like 50-50 like expectations. I didn't want to expect too much because I know usually I'm going to be disappointed, but at the same time I wanted a decent sequel, keep that in mind. So first off, when it comes to the story of the game, I will be going into some spoilers, obviously not heavy story spoilers and not the end of the game itself. We're going to talk about some of the stuff from the beginning. So first off, the game is set years after Dying Light 1, so obviously things are going to be different. This time you're also playing as a different character, you're playing as Aiden. Aiden is a pilgrim. Pilgrims are people who go from one settlement to another, so automatically they're very capable people, because going from one settlement to another and avoiding a huge amount of zombies without any people whatsoever is incredibly difficult to do. So obviously Aiden is going to be somewhat stronger than other people. Now keep in mind, now spoilers for the story, he was also like experimented on, so automatically some of his abilities are going to be somewhat supernatural, but that's why he's able to withstand more hits, and he was able to utilize his physical power to do stuff which regular people are not really capable of doing. And also the story is set different place, because we're not in Haran anymore. This time we're in some European city made up stuff, but obviously you can see by the vegetation things are going to be somewhat different. And that's what this game does. Once you finish like the intro to it, they just give you the world to explore. First off, obviously you're going to be in Bazaar, and later on you're going to be moving into a different part of the map. So the map itself, when it comes to at least like size, I think it's okay. I think it's alright. I think it's good. I think the size of the map that we have now is decent. It's not too small, but it's not too big. And the reason for it is because if there is a huge open world and you have nothing to do, it can be incredibly boring and you're not going to visit those places on the map. So automatically, if they're not utilized right, you're not going to be visiting them. So I like that they didn't make the world too big, but at the same time they made it big enough so even if you're traversing with let's say the glider, or you're using a grappling hook or whatever, you're going to have this feeling of size and scope, because it's not going to be easy for you to go from one place to another that fast. So I think from that perspective is okay. Then of course on the map itself you can do various activities, going from the main missions, the side activities, to various time trials, from parkour time trials to basically fighting zombies with certain weapons and having to defeat them in a certain amount of time. Sometimes that can be frustrating, sometimes it's fun, but those are like side activities you can do besides the main story or the side stories, even like the side quests. But even though those are gonna be giving you some experience rather, or maybe a weapon or two or whatever, but they're going to be relatively useful. When it comes obviously to side activities, they're okay. I think that some of the side missions in this game are actually stronger than the story, which I'm going to talk about. So yeah, that's that. Because the main story of this game is alright in my opinion. It's not that bad, of course it's not too forgettable. At the same time, it's not some Oscar-worthy European film in black and white level of writing, you know, where it's going to be insane on all sides. But, you know, there are some moments in this game which I will remember. There are some moments which I forgot immediately, but overall I think it's okay. Some of the problems that the story has is that from time to time it doesn't give you enough time to really bond with the characters, and a lot of those characters are honestly not likable. I didn't find one person from the survivors I actually liked. Like, that's the thing, like the characters that they sometimes have, honestly, they're not likable, like, at all. While some are obviously going to be okay. So that's almost, when it comes to the story itself, you know, it's good, it's decent, it's nothing too crazy. It has problems with pacing, it has problems with basically not following the trajectory of the story, but rather, you know, you do one story, boom, then it's a different story, then you do something, oh, now we're back to this thing, and like, okay, now what happened to these people? Like, you don't know, like, sometimes the story can be a little bit convoluted. So, you know, from that side it's all right, but I wasn't expecting anything crazy, you know, at all, because, you know, Dying Light 1, it didn't have a crazy story either. I'm sorry, but it had an okay story. It's a fun story, but nothing too crazy. And of course, there is this whole decision if you're gonna be helping out, you know, the peacekeepers or the survivors, basically. I took the peacekeepers because it's a logical choice, because they give you a crossbow in the end, a crossbow which is incredibly useful for you. Meanwhile, survivors don't give you anything, they give you zip lines, very useful. And that's something, you know, you're gonna be getting. Like, you know, on one side you have, if you go with the survivors, they're gonna be posting different zip lines for you to just, you know, go through the buildings faster, which I think is useless. On the other side, you have the peacekeepers who are gonna be arming vehicles with traps. So even those can be a little bit situational, but I found them to be incredibly more useful, because why would I need like these zip lines? Because I have all of these parkour abilities, and at the same time I have a grappling hook and I have a wingsuit, so I don't really need it. So on that side, I think they needed a weapon for the survivors to really make someone decides to go for them properly without, you know, going for them ideologically. So I don't know, I just took the peacekeepers because they have a crossbow, and that's about it. So on that side, you know, it was an easy decision. I think they should have complicated that a little bit more than they did. Now, when it comes to Aiden, you know, he's alright as a character. Some of the problems I have with Aiden is because if you're a pilgrim, I think he was a little bit too weak in my opinion at the start of the game. Now, obviously there is a logical, you know, game explanation on why is that, but at the same time, I think some of the abilities that you unlock, I think that's something that he should have known from start, just because he's a pilgrim. Just because it would allow you to add a little bit more abilities which are going to be more complicated. Because some of the abilities in this game, like for example, to do a good landing when you jump from a certain distance, like that's okay. You're going to do a full parkour move there and you're not going to lose health. But I think that's something that he should have known from start, especially being, again, a pilgrim, a person who is automatically going to be more capable than like in 80% or 90% people you see on the map, and you know, it's just how it is. But obviously, as you're collecting inhibitors to increase your health or stamina, you're also gonna be investing you know, those skills and abilities as you level up your character. Then you become quite strong, and that's when Aiden really shines. So that's something at start, you know, you're going to be incredibly weak, and you know, the parkour itself is going to be weak because you don't have many abilities. So you're going to say, ah, yeah, the parkour is not great. So on that side, you know, it takes a little bit to get the full scope of abilities, and that's when parkour becomes really fun. And that's what I want to talk about, because, you know, traversing the city, going through various sort of enemies, exploring different areas of the map and finding different resources for you to either sell or craft was fun, because it gives you like this city vibe where, you know, it's like, okay, now you have zombies there, and a lot of time has passed, so you're gonna be sending the bravest people there to fight all of those zombies and to collect all of those resources. So from that side, I think that's okay, and I think that's a really nice addition to the game, just because if I don't want to do quests and other activities, I can just go around, explore, and just enter these dark hollows, etc., to just collect more stuff, which is going to be incredibly useful for my character. And again, to go back to parkour, the parkour in Dying Light 2 is a little bit floatier than Dying Light 1, but at the same time, it's not going to be something which is going to be, you know, unrealistic or crazy. You know, sometimes when Aiden jumps, it can be like, how did you do that jump? That doesn't make any sense from the physics perspective, but, you know, after all, it's okay. Because the most important thing is that as you're as you're parkouring, as you're doing those animations, like it's gonna be cool. I'm not going to lie. Like parkour can be incredibly, you know, polished here, where it's just gonna be, you know, just flowing throughout the city, especially if you do all of your, you know, jumps and all of that right. It's gonna be a beautiful sight. And then Aiden is going to mention some things as you're doing this. He's gonna say like, wow, this was nice. So it definitely helps with the game itself, and it makes the game fun, which I think is the most important thing. They give you weapons, they give you abilities, and they just give you zombies to fight, and that's what you do. You just fight and have fun and just do activities and quests around the map. But the game also had a bit of a problem when it came out, because, you know, when you have a huge game in an open world environment, it's impossible to quality assure everything in it. So there were a lot of bugs and glitches and problems. I was one of the lucky ones where I was able to just play the game without any major problems. I had a few crashes now and then, but right now a lot of those problems are getting fixed a lot. And I think that they announced a new like huge patch which is going to like cover everything they haven't fixed so far. So after that, I think the game is gonna be alright for most people in terms of just those technical parts of the game, which again, I understand that some people had huge problems with it, and that kind of alienates you from the game itself. So if you have problems, you're not going to be enjoying the story, you're not going to be enjoying the game as you properly should. So hopefully all of that is going to be fixed. Of course, when it comes to the you know, the environment itself and the graphics, I think the graphics are beautiful. Like especially if you turn on RTX, like the difference is wild, and it just looks beautiful overall. Like you know, so many details around the map, inside of buildings. They really took their time to make these buildings stand out. You know, some of those buildings interior is going to be sometimes the same in terms of layout, but from time to time you're going to like run into some areas which are going to be incredibly breathtaking to just look at. So from that detailed perspective, like the city is you know, it's good, it's good. Besides that, honestly, combat animations were done really well. I think the combat AI is also a lot of fun, especially when you're fighting humans. They can do a lot of stuff which is kind of cool. Like they're gonna be testing you, shouting at you, going around you. They're gonna be teasing you with attacks. They're gonna do this, and you're going to say, oh, you're gonna attack me now. You know, they're not particularly difficult to fight, but at the same time they're fun to fight, and that's the most important thing. Honestly, this game on easy and normal is quite easy, I'm not going to lie, but if you play it on hard, that's when you're fully going to experience the game. Because if you want to fully experience the game, obviously you're going to be putting it on hard, because you're going to be using every single ability you have in the game. You're going to be crafting stuff, you're going to be upgrading stuff, you're going to be visiting dark hollows to basically collect stuff and, you know, kill monsters which are, or zombies which are going to drop their medals, which you can use later on to just level up the mods or lockpicks or your, you know, medkits and everything, which is incredibly important. So everything in this game kind of flows nicely. Everything in this game is, you know, mixed and matched, because if you do one thing, it's going to help out in a different thing and so on. You know, story-wise, it's nothing crazy. Gameplay-wise, it has bugs and glitches. That's not gonna be avoided, but at the same time, it wasn't breaking the game completely, at least for me, and they addressed those patches and fixes quite fast, honestly, quite fast. So this is my opinion about Dying Light 2. This is my full review of the game. Tomorrow we're gonna be doing Elden Ring. We're finally starting that, and it's gonna be an exciting times. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to tell me down below what do you think about all of this, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like and subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter and Discord, where we can continue the discussion there. And of course, huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out. Stay classy everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.